Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on, guys? It's Filthy and I'm back with another video. So today we're looking at spending our challenge rift materials for each individual class for season 19. Now I'm hoping to do as many season starter guides as I can before the season does in fact begin. At the time of recording we don't have a date, but I'm worried it's going to be the 15th of November and that's not going to give me much time. I've got a lot of build guides that I want to get out. I've obviously got D4 information swirling around my head. So this will do in lieu of any classes I miss, and maybe you'll find it helpful just to get an idea as to which class is going to have a pretty easy time of it with upgrading stuff in the cube and rolling for blood shards. And before we jump into it, I just want to welcome anyone who's new to the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always guys, a thumbs up is appreciated. There'll be plenty more season 19 videos coming soon. The website you're seeing is D3 Planner. The Kadala section, I will link it in the description. I'm also going to put a link to each particular class because I understand that you might not want to sit through the full 20-25 minutes of this. So if you want to just go to a particular class, the timestamp is in the description. Now guys, I'm afraid I'm going to sound a little like C-3PO from The Empire Strikes Back.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
I'll be giving you some pretty exact statistics on your chances of upgrades and also for blood shard rolling. This is just to give you an informed decision. You can take the risk as you want. There are obviously some items that are really powerful but a quite low chance of getting them. So again, it's totally up to you. So it's kind of like a statistical breakdown really of what to do with your challenge bag for season 19. Now we'll kick things off with the Barbarian. We're going to do it in alphabetical order and the Barb comes first. Now for shards, I wouldn't recommend rolling them straight away. I'd do the upgrade first, which we'll get to in a little bit, but I do think this information is important, particularly when we're factoring in some of the upgrade choices. Now for Barb, you want to roll shards on braces. You've got the Braces of Destruction. Seismic Slam deals up to 500% increased damage, and importantly this is now to the first 10 enemies hit, so this is new for this patch, so these braces are amazing. Braces of the First Man are also really good. Hammer of the Ancients gets a 50% attack speed buff and 500% damage as a max roll. Now just as a quick aside guys, you've got a 10% chance of getting one each time you roll with Kadala. I hear people all the time say it's guaranteed you'll get one or the other, and it's just simply not true. Now you've got 19 chances because you've got 475 shards to spend. It's 25 shards per bracer, so that means we get 19 stabs at this. So 86.49% of you will get the braces. You'll get one of them at least in that time. Now obviously you're going to stop as soon as you hit the braces, but the way to look at it is 10% of people will get it on the first go. They'll have one plump at this and a legendary bracer will drop out. By the time everyone's had 2 goes, 19% of people would have had it, so on and so forth. So as you can see, it's not guaranteed. There will be an unlucky 13.5% who will miss out, and there's not much we can do about that. But it is important to note, and this will become apparent a little bit further. We'll return to shards once we've talked about the upgrading. Now guys, I'm going to recommend one-hand mighty weapons for the Barb. The reason for this is because there's only 8 of them in the pool, and 5 of them actually carry multipliers, and your chances of getting something bad are pretty slim. So we'll start off with the bad, I think. Remorseless is pretty useless because you do get a multiplier on Hammer of the Ancients, which sounds great. Unfortunately, to activate it you have to have Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients active. So this will essentially be a spike multiplier. You're going to put Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients on your bar. When you want to deal extra damage, you'll pop both of them and you will melt whatever you're attacking, but it only lasts for the duration of Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients. So even if you look at this, Call of the Ancients opens up at 25 and Wrath of the Berserker not till 30, so you can't even use the multiplier until 30. And then the main way you'll reduce the cooldown will be the Boon of Bulkathos passive, and you don't get that till 60. So as I say, from level 30 on you get some really nice spike damage, but it is definitely the worst thing that you can get. Now the Bulkathos blades are both useless for leveling, so in a way it seems kind of bad, but remember we do get the Wrath of the Waste set, so if you do pick up one of these you've got half of this set complete, and it is very nice because it really does help you out with fuel regeneration. It means you don't have to take Wind Shear as a rune on Whirlwind, and you get 45% increased attack speed and move speed. So at level 70 getting this set complete is pretty handy. So even if you do get one of these, fine, it's not ideal for leveling, but you stick it in your stash. Very useful for 70. Now the rest of them all have pretty good multipliers. Now this would be best in slot without a shadow of a doubt, Ambo's Pride. Attacking with Whirlwind also applies rend, and the total damage of rend is dealt over 1 second. So this is new for 267. It's best in slot in the cube for Wrath of the Waste and any Whirlwind build anyway. But if we look at Whirlwind, it opens up at level 20, which is great, so it's fairly early in the skills. Apply rend automatically. Now rend deals 1110 damage over 5 seconds. Squishing that down and condensing it to 1 second is like a 5 times modifier, so that's really handy. And there's some pretty decent runes on rend as well, so it is really nice, and this would definitely be my number 1 pick. So looking at the rest of them, we've got the Blade of the Warlord. Bash now, it becomes a spender and has a huge damage increase, so if you did get this in the upgrade, you might want to rethink rolling the braces, because you already have now a spender with a multiplier, so you can move on and get something else. Dishonored Legacy, Cleave deals extra damage depending on missing fury. This would be quite nice if you did hit one of those braces as we talked about earlier, because basically you generate it, it's now going to have a multiplier, and your spender's going to have a multiplier, so that's quite a big damage output because you left click, right click and deal more damage either way. Fjord Cutter is a little bit of a tricky one because Seismic Slam will attack 50% faster and deal extra damage, but that's only against slowed or chilled enemies, so we have to get a slow or chill on them. And the way that we're going to do that is with Ground Stomp, so this unlocks at level 4, but Deafening Crash unlocks at level 12, and that gives an 80% slow, so that procs it. And also Leap, generally when you land you do a slow on the enemy, so these two things would have to go on your bar, and you would be looking to apply these and then do Seismic Slam. So the Oathkeeper primary skills attack faster and also deal extra damage. This would be really nice again because it would have Generator on left click dealing extra damage, and then if you did get braces with a multiplier on right click, again just really helps you out with your damage output. So your other option is a two-handed mighty weapon. There are 6 in the loot pool, 2 of which carry multipliers. Fury of the Vanished Peak. This one is actually really good because it does also reduce the fury cost of Seismic Slam, so extra damage, and you can use it more, which is nice. Then the Gavel of Judgment. This is really good because it has a huge increase on Hammer of the Ancients, and you also don't run out of resource because it returns 25 fury. Now Blade of the Tribes is okay, but you're going to have cooldown problems when leveling, so you're not going to be able to use Warcry and Threatening Shout very often, but when you do have them it will be very strong. Bastions Revered, that's okay. Frenzy stacking up to 10 times, it's alright, it's not particularly great. And then these last two are completely worthless, so Stunning Enemies for 2 seconds, useless, and the Immortal King, we're never going to use this, so it's completely wasted. So I'd say 2 out of 6 are useful, so that's 33% chance. The multipliers are bigger, but given that we can get a multiplier on the braces, I'd probably rather go for the better chance of getting a multiplier on the one-handed mighty weapon, but obviously you've got the stats and you can make your own mind up. Now Crusader I think is quite straightforward. What I would do is at level 1 I would actually spend the blood shards and I would roll shields. Again, like Barb, you've got an 86.5% chance of getting a legendary shield, and there are 2 possibilities. So one is Guard of Johanna, so that's going to give you a nice multiplier to Blessed Hammer for the first 3 enemies it hits. That's absolutely great because Blessed Hammer is probably the skill of choice for leveling a Crusader. If you do get this, I would move straight on to Gabriel's Vambraces and try and get this. This will help you with wrath management quite a lot actually whilst leveling. And then the other shield you can get is a Denial, and that would be really good for Rolands generally because Sweep Attack will go really well with the Roland set, and this gives us a multiplier up to 625% provided we get it up to 5 stacks. Now in terms of spending your DBs, I think you've got 3 choices and one of them I wouldn't make. Now if you get the Guard of Johanna, I would recommend going for a one-handed flail. There are only 7 in the pool and you're hoping to hit a Johanna's Argument. That will give you a further multiplicative damage increase to Blessed Hammer, as well as increase its attack speed by double, so that would be really nice. Now there's actually 3 that carry multipliers in here, so you've also got the Dark Light. This currently says 250%, but it's getting changed for 267. It's going to go up to an absolutely massive 1000%, so that will hit like an absolute truck. And then Grafalcon's Foot would be really nice as well because you could put Blessed Shield on right click for instance, and it doesn't spend any resource and it's got a multiplier on it, so that would be really nice. The other 5 are pretty crap, so I wouldn't cube any of them, I'd just leave them. Now if I got a Denial, I'd go for a two-handed flail. I'd be looking to hit the Golden Flents. This would be the absolute jackpot because it also buffs Sweep Attack and it also is therefore great for the Roland set. Restores Wrath and a multiplier on it. Now I'd say there's probably 2 other decent two-handed flails in here. You've got the Fate of the Fell that will buff Heaven's Fury, give it 2 additional rays and increase its damage. That's a pretty nice damage increase. And then we also have a Khan's Leniency, so this is buffing Blessed Shield, so again, fairly decent multiplier. You can stack this quite a few times. So the rest of them I don't really think are probably worth cubing, so that gives us a 3 out of 8 chance, so slightly worse than the one-handed flail, but as I say, if I went for the denial, if I got that, I would go that way. And lastly is Crusader Shield. Now I wouldn't do this because there are 11 options in the pool, so your RNG absolutely sucks. I think you've got 3 in here with multipliers, so Friday's Wrath will buff up Condemn, which is really nice, very strong item. God of Johanna has a multiplier on it, but we've got a good chance of getting this anyway at level 1. And then the last one is Jekken Board, so again, hits 6 additional enemies for Blast Shield and also increased damage. I'm not really going to count Shield of Fury as a multiplier, it's just not going to stack enough whilst you're leveling. You're going to be killing stuff far too quickly. So 3 out of 11 is not great, especially if you take one of them out because we can already get it. So you're down to 2 out of 11, so that's just too low a chance for me. So as I say, one-handed flail, two-handed flail for me would be better. So for the Demon Hunter, I probably would wait to roll my blood shards and also wait to do the upgrade. But if you did want to roll shards at level 1, Wraps of Clarity you've got an 86% chance of finding. This will give you a nice damage reduction, but it's not adding any damage. And Leoric's Crown, similarly, 86% chance of getting it, XP, and then cooldown at level 70, so not the worst thing in the world. Now I'd wait till level 31 and I would roll a Quiver. So Fletcher's Pride is useless, but the other 3 are pretty good. So Holy Point Shot, Impale now throws 2 additional knives. Sin Seekers removes the channeling cost of Rapid Fire, gives it a nice multiplier. And then the Spines of Seething Hatred, this gives Chakram the ability to generate hatred, which is obviously nice because Chakram is pretty much the #1 leveling skill for the Demon Hunter. Now if you want, you can wait till level 30 and then you remove the Holy Point Shot and the Spines of Seething Hatred. That would give you, I think, 62% chance of finding the Sin Seekers, but I'd probably chuck the other 2 in there because if I did find a Holy Point Shot, I would then probably upgrade a dagger at that point, because there are only 2 daggers in the loot pool at level 70. Carlay's Point, which is obviously giving us impale damage and giving us hatred if it hits something that's already been impaled. Lord Greenstone Fan gives us a big multiplier on Fan and Knives, stacking up to 30 times once per second. Now I would only do that if I had the Holy Point Shot, and the reason for that is with the Carlay's Point, it's a single target skill and you will just murder stuff, so you'll just run out of hatred really quickly. And to be honest, Chakram for leveling is probably still better than Impale even with a multiplier, just because the resource cost is so low and you can pump many out. The Lord Greenstone, again, this is not actually really very useful for leveling. You don't have access to it very often, and even when you do remove the cooldown from Fan of Knives, it does become a spender, so again, they're not great. So if I didn't get the Holy Point Shot, I'd probably just save the DBs, and what I would be looking to do is maybe use it to extract things into the cube, so I'd allow myself up to 3 extractions because the DBs can be spent on that, so something in the weapon slot, something in the armor slot, and something in the jewellery. Failing that, what I would do is I'd try and get a Yang's Recurve. Now it's a 1 in 9 chance, so it's pretty low, but you're going to need this for your Unhallowed Essence set anyway. Now I wouldn't actually cube this because you're going to run out of resource really quickly with multi-shot attacking so much so fast, and also if you do cube it you lose the resource cost reduction roll on there. And when you get to 70 and you get your UE set up, the Yang's Recurve makes such a difference to the multi-shot that I'd probably, even if I got it, I'd just stick it in the stash and I'd just bust it out when I got to 70. But if you can't resist the temptation, you could always cube it and you'd have a multi-shot multiplier. Now I know a lot of people will say they'll roll the Impale Dagger. I did it last season, it really didn't feel like it was actually adding anything to the leveling process for me, and I think looking back in hindsight, I probably should have used Chakram. But obviously, you've got the stats now, you can make your own choice. So for Monk, I would go for Braces because all of them have a multiplier. So you've got Caesar's Memento, buffing up Tempest Rush, pretty big multiplier on that. Gundo Gear giving you an extra Exploding Palm on death, which is nice, and then Pinto's Pride, Wave of Light applying a slow, and also getting increased damage, so I'd definitely go for those. Now once I hit one, I'd go on and move on to boots, so either the Riviera Dancers buffing up Lashing Tail Kick, or the Cruder's Boots buffing Mystic Ally. Again, once I hit one, maybe move on to a Leoric's Crown, if you've got any left over. So for the upgrade, I'd go two-handed Daibo, because for this season, you've got, I'd say half of them are decent. So Balance will give us Tempest Rush, increased damage. Now, if you do it this way round, so if you upgrade the Daibo first, then you can obviously make a decision as to whether to keep rolling for the Tempest Rush braces. A Flying Dragon will give you double attack speed. That's actually quite nice for the Raiment set when you do get it, so it is quite usable at 70. Incense Torch the Grand Temple, obviously it's the Wave of Light Diablo, so reduces the spirit cost by half and increases damage quite a lot, so that's really nice. Inners would be completely worthless. Staff of Cairo would be completely worthless. Flow of Eternity, this is a double damage for 7-sided strike and a cooldown reduction on it, so that's pretty nice. The paddle is completely useless, and then the War Staff of General Quang, again, fairly useless. I probably wouldn't bother cubing this. I don't think it's worth it just to get one rune on Tempest Rush. So if you do get something crap, obviously don't cube it. You're going to look to cube something else later. But yeah, 50-50 chance of getting something decent, so I'd definitely go Diablo. Now Necro is pretty easy because for the upgrade, which I'd do the first thing, that'd be the first thing I'd do, you can get either a Blood-Tied Blade, which Death Nova deals loads of damage to every enemy within 25 yards. This is absolutely amazing. If you go check out the Necro Let's Play that I did, this thing absolutely murders content. You don't need anything else other than this. Maltorius Petrified Spike Bone Spear gets a huge multiplier. It just costs too much essence and it's a single target skill, so it is definitely the worst one, but it is still at the end of the day a multiplier. Nair's Black Death is actually really good. You know, I'd probably look to maybe get 2 to 3 poison skills on the bar. Any more than that is probably overkill. You're better off picking more utility items because there's obviously diminishing return effect every time you add a poison skill. So one poison skill is double damage. Then you add another one, you only get an extra 50% damage increase because you go from 100 to 200%. So I'd probably cap it at 3 poison skills because for that fourth one you're only adding 33% extra damage, and it's probably better to pick something else, but still really good. And then Rylina's Shadow Hook, just generally a flat damage increase, which is nice, and you get extra essence from Bone Spikes, which is obviously nice because it means that you get to use your spender a lot more. Now in terms of blood shards, I think you've got 3 strategies for Necro. One is to roll for the Circle of Niluji Vault. This is obviously pairs really well with Rathma, so it is very nice. Unfortunately, it's got quite a low probability. So because there are 2 rings in the loot pool and each ring costs 50 shards, we have a 37% chance of getting it. So you're almost twice as likely to miss it as you are to hit it. Your other option is Grasp of Essence. This gives you a nice multiplier on Corpse Explosion, which is a really fun skill to use whilst leveling anyway. And it would pair very well with either the Shadow Hook or the Nair's Black Death for the poison, and you've got about an 86% chance of hitting this. Now sometimes I see people recommend rolling for the Iron Rose if you get a Blood-Tied Blade, because it basically removes the spending cost of Death Nova, and if you use Siphon Blood you get free Blood Novas. Now that in theory is great, but remember you're going to be rolling a 2-handed weapon with reduced level requirement, so from level 40 to 50 you're probably going to have a 2-handed weapon. You will then no longer be able to use the Iron Rose, and you can't cube it because you don't have enough DBs because you've already cubed the Blood-Tied Blade. So I would ignore this even if I got a Blood-Tied Blade. I did it in the Let's Play, and it wasn't very helpful. I only used it for about 20 minutes and then I put it away. So I guess for shards it depends whether you're feeling lucky. Either go for the Circle 1 in 3 chance or go for a much more certain Grasp of Essence multiplier. Completely up to you which one you choose. Considering everything, I probably would go for the Circle. Yeah, the chances of it are not great, 37%, but we already have a multiplier in the cube anyway, so even if we miss it, it's not the end of the world. I think maybe if I got the Maltorius, I'd probably go for the Grasp of Essence because the Maltorius is crap and you're going to outgrow it very quickly, so you might find yourself a Shadow Hook leveling, so I'd probably go Grasp of Essence with that, and then for the other 3 I'd go for the Circle. Now for the Witch Doctor, I would be spending shards probably straight away. I'd be going for a Mojo. There's only the Gazing Demise in the loot pool at level 1, so we're back on to 86% chance of finding this. It is pretty good, it does deal an awful lot of damage, and you can use it for quite a while, even once you do get to 270. Now bear in mind guys that if you do want to do the 2-handed leveling trick, you're going to want to extract this into the cube anyway, so I probably would maybe save my DBs for the Witch Doctor because I want to put this in a cube and I might want to put an armor slot in there, so maybe a Leoric's Crown or something like that. Now if I did hit the Gazing Demise, I probably would move on to maybe getting a Leoric's. You've got a fairly high chance of it dropping it anyway naturally, but I think just to have it definitely there is probably pretty useful. Other than that, level 1 rolling for the Witch Doctor is not particularly exciting. Now in terms of the DBs, if you do want to spend them on a level 1 Witch Doctor, which as I say I probably wouldn't bother, but you've got 2 choices. Number 1 is a Ceremonial Knife. There are 3 in the loot pool out of 12 that are pretty good. So you can get yourself a Barber which buffs Spirit Barrage, so that's pretty nice. A Dagger of Darts will give you a pretty good multiplier, and generally it's best in slot for an end game Witch Doctor build anyway, so that's quite a nice one to get. And the other one that's okay for leveling would be the Sacred Harvester, but this would be quite useful at 70 anyway, because you're going to want to use it with your Held 2 set. So obviously 3 out of 12 for the one-handed ceremonial knife is not particularly great odds, 25%. We can do slightly better by going for voodoo masks, because there are 8 in the pool and 3 of them are good. So Mask of Jerem, Pet Steel extra 200%, that would be really good because it goes extremely well with Helltooth. Quetzalcoatl will be okay because Locust Swarm and Haunt now get a double damage multiplier because they deal the damage in half the time. And you could also get yourself a Carnival, and that would allow you to do poison darts from your Fascishes. So, you know, that would be okay as well. So I think if I was going to upgrade something, it probably would be a voodoo mask, because I'd be hoping to get a Mask of Jerem, but I probably would just save it and I'd use my DBs a little bit later once I had access to more of them, and I'd look to put something in the cube whilst I was leveling. But with the voodoo mask, 3 out of 8, you've got a 37.5% chance of hitting one, so totally up to you whether you want to go for the gamble or not. I'd say Wizard actually has the worst RNG in the entire game when leveling 1 to 70. There's pretty much nothing of interest at level 1. You've got the Leoric's Crown, which everybody gets access to, so you'd be back onto an 86% chance of getting this if you did want to roll for it, but it is a fairly common item, so I probably wouldn't bother. You could go for a pair of Ashnagar's Blood Braces. These will give you extra shields. It's defensive again, so it's not really adding any damage. So again, 86% chance of hitting them if you blew your whole load of shards on them, but again, I probably wouldn't bother. So what I would do is wait until level 33 and go for an Etched Sigil. So whilst you're channeling, you're going to deal increased damage, and you also cast one of your arcane spenders for free. You can use this for Tal Meteor, which is obviously quite useful when you get to level 70, once you start to unlock your Tal gear, so it is pretty nice to have ready in the cube. And because there's 2 in the pool, we've got a 5% chance every time we roll for it of it dropping, so we've got 62% chance of getting it, so you've got almost twice as much chance of hitting it as missing it, so I would go for it. Now in terms of DBs on the Wizard, I probably wouldn't spend them. Similar to the Witch Doctor, I would make sure that I had access to things in the cube, because we're going to do the reroll level requirement trick. So again, when we do get to 40, we might have a 2-handed weapon, so the Etched Sigil, if we have got it, would then have to go in the cube, and we won't have the mats if we've already cubed something. So I probably would just keep the DBs anyway. Now obviously if you did upgrade and you missed it, something decent, so you didn't extract into the cube, you could put your Etched Sigil in there anyway, but the probability of getting something good is pretty low. So best in slot would be the Death Wish, because you would want to be looking to set up Tal Meteor, but you've got 1 in 15 chance of getting that, so that's just terrible RNG. It's just almost worthless trying to go for it. Only 1 in 15 people would get it. Looking at one-handed ones, we've got 10 in the pool, and I'd say only 2 of them are really any good. Unstable Scepter buffing Arcane Orb, and Wand of Woe buffing Explosive Blast. Now both of them actually are in the loot pool fairly early. Starfire is also okay, you would get a multiplier on Lightning, but it's nothing to write home about. It's not going to completely change your leveling experience. And as I say, all 3 of those ones actually open up into the loot pool very early, so you never know, you might get lucky when one drops. So I probably wouldn't go for it, because 20% chance of getting something good to me doesn't seem like a very good use of the DBs. I'd rather keep them and look to put, you know, the Etched Sigil in the cube if I found that, maybe an armor piece, Leoric's Crown maybe, and then a ring, and I probably would use my DBs once I came across more of them, so I probably wouldn't always go for upgrading. If you had to press me, I'd probably go for a one-handed wand, but your RNG isn't great for it, so I probably would rather keep the DBs. So that's it guys, we've done all the classes. Now obviously it's a bit odd to recommend not spending the DBs straight away for some of the classes, but I hope it makes sense. Obviously if you don't extract anything into the cube, even after an upgrade, you still do have that 1 extract available, so you can get 1 thing in there, but really you've got the percentages now, so it's up to you. If you've got any questions, by all means ping them to me, I'll do my best to get to them. I've got absolutely stacks of season 19 videos still to make, so really excited to get them out. So if you do want to be notified of future videos, make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification button. As always guys, a thumbs up is greatly appreciated. I will see you in the next video. Peace.